So, let's talk about boxing for a minute. You know, conventional thought is Brian Norman is going to knock Devin Haney out. Most other conventional thought is that Devin Haney is going to run from Brian Norman Jr. Um, so let me say this, just to bring some, hearing people talk about it. I'm not too vested into it. Bill, that's my man. Right hand, left hand. I picked Norman for the stoppage. I like Brian Norman Sr. and his son. I'm really just giving an honest opinion. If I'm being honest, I hope Devin win because of the relationship I got with Bill. But boxing wise, I'm kind of like favoring Norman for boxing, So that's what we do, get boxing opinion. But just thought that, Brian Norman's coming with the mindset to get a knockout, and I got to knock him out. One thing about it is, when you come in with that mindset to knock a guy out and round 3 go by, round 5 go by, round 7 go by, maybe you haven't hurt him. Maybe he got into a groove and he just outboxing you. That becomes a problem. The mentality should never be, oh, I'm going to knock him out. I think he said 4 or 5 rounds, or I'm going to knock him out. Now, that should never be the mentality. They should be training to go 12. And I think Norman has only been 10. He's only been 10 twice. He went 10 versus Santiano when he won the title, virtually. Looking back at it, that's how he actually won it. And I think he went 10 another time, and he hasn't won 12. So this is something that I really see people not really talking about, is what Norman is going to do in the championship rounds. And even if you're looking at that Giovanni Santiano fight, a lot of times he had his back on the ropes. And he might have been tired. He ain't been 12 rounds, let alone a tough 12 round. Even in that Santiano fight, he could have been getting tired. He was controlling the narrative because he was hurting him. It wasn't like it was give or take. So he don't really got that seasoning going deep into fights. So to be saying, well, I'm going to knock him out. And speaking that, I hope they're training for 12 rounds. Because when you don't knock them out and they don't have a plan B, see, they're already worried about, catching Dev and Dev footwork and all of that type of stuff. And, how you offset a guy like Dev, in his footwork, you have to jab. If he able to go in and out at will, you got to jab. That's the number one thing. When a guy with Dev, his footwork his whole game is predicated on the jab, right? So if Norman and them don't come out there with a plan to get the knockout, and if we don't get the knockout, this is the long-term plan, does he pace himself? Do we try to go out there and say, I can punch, he can't, I'm going to just try to knock him out in the first 5 rounds and blow his load? No Kevin Spacey, no Kanye. And then he get tired and it don't work, and then Dev start beating his ass. Then what? See, this is something that I haven't really heard nobody talk about, is the fact that this guy's never been 12. He's been 10 twice, 10 and not even a full 10 versus that Santiago guy, and he went 10 before. He hasn't won a strong 12. And then on the other side of it, conventional thought is Devin has to move away. It's not how you handle a puncher, especially an inexperienced fighter. You take the fight to him. If you go look at Gerald McClendon and Julian Jackson, he went to him. Yeah, he took some damage, but he went to him. That was the number one thing. He came to show that, dude, I'm not scared of your power. You know what I'm saying? And that's what it is. Sugar Ray Leonard. Yeah, he boxed Tommy and Tommy was outboxing him. But at some point, how did he get the victory in the first fight? He had to cut the distance and take the fight to Thomas Hearns. At some point, and I think sooner you want to establish that than later, he should take the fight to Brian Norman. He should not allow Brian Norman to set his feet and throw a punch. I'm like, CJ, if he pushing him back, he's on his heels. So he should come out there and establish and put Brian Norman on his heels. He should push Brian Norman back. Maybe they should be working on a strong jab, but he should come out there and push Brian Norman back. Maybe jab, strong right hand to the body, maybe even a jab or a right hand to the solar plex. establish that right then and there. That honestly, that's what I think. They have to push him backwards. That's my opinion. I feel like they have to push him back at some point in this fight. And I think sooner than later you want to do that. That way you already established I could push him back. When he on the front foot, you already know when he trying to walk, he trying to attack, he trying to get back. So that's why you establish putting him on his heels. And then when you establish and they get back to regular, when y'all in the middle of the ring, you keep him on the back foot, you keep him on the front foot. You push him back with feints, you and then if he attacking, maybe you set traps up like that. But this whole thing where Dev got to run to win the fight, Dev better come to Brian Norman sooner than later. Dev better come to Brian Norman sooner than later. He should press the attack. That's the number one thing, because once you get in there, you moving and you dancing and all that. Yeah, you can do that for 12 rounds. They're not favoring that in the scoring, but you're not really establishing nothing. At some point, you got to sit there. So if I'm them, I go right to the puncher. Go right to him, push him right back on the back foot. But, this thing, well, he got to run and that's the only way he can win. Nah, you push guys like that back. If you can get in their chest. Brian Norman is not an experienced fighter. He's not a skillful fighter. The level of competition the last couple fights have favored him, but when he's been in there with other guys that's irky jerky slick, he struggled. And that's why, he got to use, Devin got to push him back. So then when they get back to the middle of the ring, your feints, your speed, and then you can move them off the mark. So you keeping them in balance. That's the thing about it's a game of feet. You keeping them in balance. If you always on the back foot moving, he's able to get on the front foot. If he's smart and you do that, they're going to jab. And then whatever way you sliding out, he's going to throw his hook there. And eventually he may feint a hook or a jab and come with a right hand or whatever it may be. But if you constantly moving, he's able to have a balance and catch a rhythm. But if you put him on that back foot, and press him back a little bit. And then you kind of just, in front of him, you jabbing and feinting and you know what I'm saying? You just keeping him off balance. He don't know if I'm on my balls on my feet. Am I planted? Am I on my heels? You got to keep them guessing. But this whole thing where what's concerning me with Norman is they knockout. I wouldn't even speak about a knockout. I'll speak in this fight in terms of quarters. The first 3 rounds, the next 3 rounds, or the 4, however you want to break them down. I'll just break the fight. And that's what we want to do. We want to set this up. But if you're looking to go out there and knock and land one shot, his father is doing a disservice. If they look at, we're going to set up the knock, how are we going to set up the win? And that's the one thing I liked about Dimitri Bivol. He wasn't concerned about the judges. He wasn't concerned about the judges. He said, I'm going to fight my fight. And if I'm going to let the chips fall there and you already worry about the judges and I need a knockout, bro, I hope they not training for a knockout. I hope they ain't just training for a knockout. Beat this guy. If y'all skillful and y'all worried about him, break him down and then knock him out. But if they looking to land one punch and that don't happen and Devin get into a groove, he's going to get embarrassed. But if I'm Devin them, I'm walking this guy down. I'm going right to him. Ryan Garcia, they made some mistakes with the left hook. Keep your chin tucked. Stop, dropping that hand. Stop, leaning to that right side like that because he's going to throw that left hook. You know what I'm saying? Throw him off. Throw a jab in a right hand to the solar plex. Walk right to him. And you get them on them heels, just keep your chin tucked, bring your hands home, stop dropping that hand low and run them combinations. Then back off them. Just keep them balanced. But if you don't never establish the respect factor, with Brian Norman, and you always moving back and side to side, where Regis, he established respect. If you don't, walk him down at some point, the feints really ain't going to work. You know what I'm saying? Really, you just really predicated on the jab. But if you walk them down and you make a statement and push them back, Guess what? You can run combinations. You can pop shot. You know what I'm saying? Everybody, oh, you got to run. You don't run from the puncher. A lot of times, you know, like Sugar Ray Leonard versus Donnie Lalonde. Yeah, he got caught. I got caught walking him down, but eventually he wore Donnie Lalonde down to win the light heavyweight title. The bigger guy, he wore him down. He went, you know, once that power faded, Sugar Ray started running combinations like a Chinese restaurant. I went number 1, number 5, number 10. You want some 5? He started running and just beat him down. It's a risk when you go in there and you walk down the bigger guy, the puncher. It's a risk. Andre Ward took that risk. He got dropped, but he like, okay. And what did he do? He went to work. Once the Roe Kovalev landed that big right hand and Ward got back up, it psychologically did something to Kovalev. Going into the next fight, he got destroyed. You know, you think about Julian Jackson hit Gerald McClellan. Gerald McClellan knocked his ass out. Psyche, bro. But hey, thumbs up the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the link tree. You can find me on X, Facebook, Kick, Twitch, the whole 9. Peace.